Here we
45
go.
minutes. Yep.
Yeah, we're good.
Welcome back to TML Weekly. This is season 2, episode 13. First episode of the new year. Welcome to 2025. As always, brought to you by Bjorn and Don Cherry Sports Grill. So, yeah, how was your holiday, guys?
Go ahead, Johnny.
Hey, man, it was pretty darn good. We had a nice little run here with the Leafs, and Kara made it through all of her training. She was healthy up until about a week ago, and so we're battling some injuries right now and, you know, getting her back up to speed as competition season starts. But, no complaints. All in all, a pretty good time. Good time to be a Leaf fan. Johnny, how about you?
Yeah, quiet. Lots, World Juniors on. And, you always said we were at the rink every day, it seemed. And, pretty quiet. It was nice. And the weather's been pretty good out here, knock on wood. We had a little bit of snow, and now it's gone. And, so we're just gearing up here for a busy January. Lots of hockey, a little bit of travel. And, Leafs are, they're doing what they do. But I know we got a lot to talk about because we missed the show there over the break, and obviously a lot going on in the hockey world. Nolan's got a little agenda, and he's gonna. I was just saying,
keep us on track.
Just saying before we come on the air, Johnny seems to ramble every now and then, so Nolan's gonna give him a little slap.
Under the bus. Under the bus.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So
what do you got, Nolan? Where are we going first?
So I think everyone had a pretty good Christmas break except for Team Canada at the World Juniors. What are your thoughts on that? Second straight quarterfinal exit. Both games, back-to-back years against Czechia, losing the final minute. Just pretty tough tournament. The roster, I'll let you guys dive into that. But, take it away.
Well, I mean, these kids are good, right? The Latvian kids are good. Right, you're gonna find when you get certain age groups, and you'll see it from let's say a GTHL in Toronto or a minor hockey point of view. There's certain age groups that are very good in certain areas, and that goes with the world stage as well. You'll get a birth year that's just there's a whole bunch of kids and they got taught the right way, say in Detroit. Or Wisconsin or wherever, and they'll all kind of come up together and push each other. I thought the Americans were going to win this going in. I mean, I like Canada's team. Canada's got a chance every year. We're deep enough that you could have 4 or 5 teams there that could compete. I don't like the how should I say it? The panic of the Canada fans or so-called fans and throwing jerseys on the ice and, roasting kids on social media and, questioning the choice of coaches and who picked the teams and blah, blah, blah. You know what? It is what it is, right? They could have won the tournament just like anybody else could have won the tournament. It didn't work out this year. But enjoy the games. It was fantastic hockey. The Latvian game, that's good hockey. That's it. That's what you watch. If you're a hockey fan or a Team Canada fan or whatever, you want to see good hockey. They were all good hockey games, right? It just didn't go our way this year. But I don't like people picking on kids. Dave Cameron's an East Coast guy. He's been a coach for a long, long time. Very successful at developing players and getting them to the next level. I would have no issue with Dave Cameron coming back next year. But there is a guy that if he's not the guy right now that Team Canada is calling and trying to commit this guy for 2 to 3 years, Gardner McDougall is his name. Okay. And I want you to look him up if you don't know who he is. So Gardner is an East Coaster. He's from PEI. I don't know. He had about a 20-year run as the head coach of the University of New Brunswick. And last year they didn't lose. They didn't lose a college hockey game all year. Went to nationals, swept, won their round of 8, won their semi, won the final, went 56-0 or something like that. Anyway, so Gardner, between that national championship and the one before that, The St. John Sea Dogs were hosting the Memorial Cup. Okay. They go out in the first round of the Q. Everybody panics. UNB, in the meantime, just won the national championship again. They fired their coach between their Q exit and their start of the Memorial Cup. Their host, they had about a month, and they hired Gardner McDougall. He comes in, practices with these kids every day, and instills some new systems, blah blah. Wins the Memorial Cup, just won a university title, then wins the Memorial Cup. Then he goes back and wins another university title and goes 52-0 or whatever it is. Now he's the head coach of the Moncton Wildcats, who I believe they just traded today for Mathis Rousseau, which is a unbelievable young Quebecois goaltender that played for the Mooseheads. So I've seen him lots here in Halifax. He just got traded to Moncton today. It's a silly season in junior hockey. But watch for the Moncton Wildcats, coached by Gardner McDougall, to win the Memorial Cup in May. That's my prediction. Rimouski's the host. Moncton's going to smash everybody else in the queue and going to get there. Rimouski's loading up too, but he's an X factor, man. He's a guy that Hockey Canada needs to go after. Johnny, what did you think of the junior?
Well, I've got a little bit of a different take on the juniors. But the one thing that I will agree with you wholeheartedly 100% on, nobody wanted to win those games more than those kids. And so if you're lashing out at a bunch of 17-year-olds and a bunch of 18-year-olds for, not living up to expectation, I don't know. You need to check yourself at the door, I think. Now, that is not to say that Hockey Canada gets absolution from this. I think when you looked at that roster from top to bottom, there's a lot of questions on who got picked and why, who was left off the roster. I thought going up and down the lines, there were a lot of the same players on that grouping. With regards to the coaching, listen, has Dave Cameron coached a long time? Absolutely. 67s have one of the best programs year after year in the O. 100% he does. Short tournament. Don't be afraid to make some changes. I felt like, I watched every game that Team Canada played. And I'm looking at it a little differently than you are, John. You're excited that Latvia is competitive with Canada. I'm looking at it as Latvia should never be competitive with Canada.
Latvia was competitive with everybody. That wasn't their best. That wasn't their only good game. Like they made the quarterfinal.
Congratulations!
My point on it is these
shout out to Latvia.
Players. They have good players too.
Listen, great. Latvia's got great players. I don't care what anybody says. Latvia should not be on a competitive level playing field with Canada. I don't care. That's how I feel about it.
Latvia has a population of 1.8 million, which is less than the city of Toronto.
This is so the defense rests, Your Honor. So
yeah. Whoa.
Okay, hold on. Here we go.
No defense rests. So America's got 10 times the population as Canada, so we shouldn't be on their. Is that what you're saying? If we're talking about population, so 300 million south of the border.
Are you being for real right now? Are you telling me that a population base of 1.8 million relative to 38 million people in Canada are comparable? Yes or no? I would suggest there's nobody alive that's going to
say. You're talking about if you're asking who has more people, Canada has more people. But you could say the same thing with Canada and the U.S.
No, because you're going to have a critical mass of a number where sooner or later you're going to be okay at. Whether it's 20 million, whether it's 30 million, whether it's 40 million, your number is going to be in that wheelhouse, right?
Okay, so
1.8 million doesn't get you to the wheelhouse.
With that theory, what country normally wins the Winter Olympics? Gold medal, total medals, everything. Just give me
Americans. The Americans.
Yeah, but not always the winner. Who's right there with the Americans in the Winter Olympics?
The Russians.
Keep going.
Those are usually the top two.
There's somebody Google it right now.
No, it's probably Norway's up there.
Norway.
Yeah.
How many people live in Norway?
How many people live in Norway?
Same amount as live in Toronto. My point is...
And so they're great at skeet shooting that no one does. They win medals in things that no one does.
Skeet shooting. Come on. That's a finish.
Skeet shooting and cross-country skiing. Who cares? Anyways, the point I'm making here is I don't think that the two should be competitive. You disagree, that's fine. I don't think they should.
You know what? Next year's birth year that goes to the World Juniors, you may be right. But I said it when we came on. There's certain age groups in certain regions that just are unbelievable.
So shout out.
And they could have a really good
small community in Latvia who had the wonderful coach who imported craft dinner and gave it to the kids, and they thought it was fantastic, and they've elevated their game. Way to go to the kids in Latvia. Now, with regards to Dave Cameron, I can only give my point of view on this. It's a short tournament. Your team needs to gel. I don't think losing a game against Latvia and giving them a day off. I don't think losing to the Americans and giving them a day off. I don't think the lack of practice time helped this team. I was appalled by the answer that he gave where he said, well, the guys were tired. And I thought, remember back to when you were 18 and you were tired all the time. Do you want to know why you were tired all the time? Because you were 18. Those kids have more get up and go at any point in time. They've got the best nutrition. They've got the best training. I'm not putting this on the kids at all. I'm putting this on Hockey Canada and the coach for not holding the players accountable and having them prepared. I don't believe they were. I do not believe that we put them in the absolute best position for success. I blame that on Hockey Canada. I blame that on the coach. And I also want to talk about the coach very specifically here because it took us, I watched every single game we played. And if you watch the way we showed up in that third period to the Czechs, that was the best period of hockey we played in the entire tournament. And it wasn't even close. And what did we do then? We juggled the lines. We didn't roll four lines that were exactly the same and no one had anything going on. Hockey Canada, my opinion, needs to be more like soccer. We need a coach that's a junior coach, and he needs to be the coach, and he needs to be given a 3 or 4 year contract, and he needs to coach the juniors. That's his job. That's his focus. Inside, outside, we know who's coming. He can get this age group. He can start scouting kids at 12 and 13 now, prepare them, get them all the way up, know who's coming in, know what he likes, have a method, and stick to it. That's what Hockey Canada needs.
That would be great. And 10 years ago, that could have happened. Okay. Unfortunately, and maybe this is part of the preparation or whatever you want to call it, Hockey Canada doesn't have the money that Hockey Canada had 5 years ago.
I'm calling BS on that.
Really? Okay, so just Google how many sponsors have left Hockey Canada based on the sex scandals. Okay.
John, don't misunderstand the point. No, don't misunderstand the point I'm saying. I'm not telling you Hockey Canada has not lost sponsors.
I'm agreeing with you.
Listen.
I'm telling you they can't afford that right now.
Then
they can't. I mean, I'm sure sponsors will come back. I love that idea. They have been saying it for years.
Do you not think? So, just between us talking, do you not think if Hockey Canada went to Wayne Gretzky and Sidney Crosby and pick a list of anybody who's ever put on that jersey and said, hey, listen, we're a little short on cash right now because apparently cash is the problem. We're a little short on cash right now. Could you make a donation to Hockey Canada so that we could put in a full-time head coach? Do you think that wouldn't be possible?
No. Nobody's going near Hockey Canada right now until all this stuff's settled, man.
I'm telling you, there's one of these players who's a multimillionaire who's made more money than they know what to do with, who's put on the jersey, who wants to see Canada and would like to have his name attached to the success of the World Junior program. I guarantee you if you're out there and you're watching this show, make a donation to Hockey Canada.
Yeah, because they're not successful. They don't make a medal 2 years in a row, and now
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. Hold on. Do we agree? Do we agree that there's a problem?
This guy comes in, he's going to be part of the success of it's already successful.
Look, it's not successful. We haven't medaled. That's not a success, John. It's Canada. It's hockey, man. I'm sorry. No, we're not doing this. We're not doing we showed up and we tried hard and had orange slices. That's not what this is about. It's Canada. It's the World Junior Hockey Championships. We're supposed to win. Full stop, period. If we don't even medal and get knocked out in the quarterfinals, I'm sorry, man. I'm not part of this new age society where everybody gets a medal and we feel good about it. This is not a successful tournament. It's not.
No. We agree to disagree because you know what? I think the program's fine. I would love to see a full-time coach, but the program's fine. That team could have won.
All right, so let's move on to something more Leaf related. It's, they played the 41st game of the season last night. 4-game win streak coming in to tomorrow's game, rematch against the Flyers, which should be a pretty chippy one. So we're at the halfway point of the season. What do you guys think of the season so far?
I'll let Mr. Know-It-All talk first.
Oh, listen, unbelievable, eh? So listen, I've got a lot of great things to say so far. I'm relatively pleased with what we've seen so far. If I was going to talk about some highlights, listen, I would be remiss, especially after how hard I've been, and I have been, and I feel like relatively, logically hard on John Tavares. But the John Tavares that we've seen this year is a bit of a resurgence. Listen, I don't know if it's a contract year and he's having that magical contract year resurgence. I don't know if Kara says it's got something to do with that, not having the C on the jersey. Maybe that's got something to do with it. All I know is, last year he was 109th, 5-on-5 in points in the NHL and looked like he wasn't a second line center. This year, he looks like a completely rejuvenated, different guy. So I give full marks to John Tavares. I really like. I did not realize how good this player was until I got a chance to watch him every night. But Chris Tanev, man, what a revelation this kid is. I mean, I shouldn't call him a kid. He's not a kid anymore. But he is spectacular on defense. He does. And what I like about Chris Tanev is not the flash and the pizzazz, because there's not a lot there, but it's old school, drop down, block the shot, finish a check in the corner, play heavy in front of the net. Love it. All kinds. Chris Tanev, one of the best signings that we've had in a long time. I like the goaltending when it's healthy, 100%. I don't think you can look at the play of Wall or the play of Stolarz and be critical of just about anything. They've been dynamite when going. And lastly, a player that I've been big on for a long time, and I'm really glad that he didn't start the season with Berube the right way. But Bobby McMatthews, boy, that guy is just, every time they seem to give him like a real opportunity to get on the ice with some players, he doesn't seem to let him down. He just seems to always be in the right spot at the right time. And above all else, it wouldn't be me talking if I didn't say this. I love everything about the way Craig Berube is coaching this team. I really do. If we have a 1-goal lead with 8 minutes to go in the third period, I am not terrified that we're going to lose. I'm confident that, he's got the system in play and the guys are making the right decisions. There's no panic. I think we've seen that 3 or 4 times this year, where in years past, guys just they'd freeze and wouldn't know what to do. And the puck would be up and lazy plays and, that kind of stuff. So I'm a big Craig Berube fan. I love everything that he's done. I love the system he's put in place. I love the defensive approach to the game. Listen, overall, I'm a pretty happy guy with where we are midway through to the season. We're playing playoff style hockey and we're winning the games that before we found a way to lose. So I'm a fan.
Yeah. I find it nice personally, just knowing that I just feel much more comfortable watching the team in the third period when it's tight, close game, whatever. Based off the system and guys like Tanev, McCabe, the goaltending, everyone's kind of buying into the system.
I agree.
Especially stat after 2 periods this year that the Leafs are leading heading into the third. They're 19-0. Haven't blown any leads.
So, and just remember, when in years past, that was never the case. And I'll just remind everybody who saw the New Jersey game that we played earlier this year, when New Jersey was up.
He's gone. He's gone.
Playing the pants off of us. What happened?
He's gone.
They fell behind and lost again.
You don't have to.
I'm just saying.
He's gone.
It wouldn't be me if I didn't bring it up.
He's not your issue anymore.
It wouldn't be me if I didn't bring it up.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I can't disagree with anything you guys are saying. You know, they're playing the right way. You know, Jack and I were watching the game last night, and he was like, who's their best player? And I said, well, Matthews is their best player. Let's face it. You know, when he's on and what he can bring, and then you know, it's like, holy smokes, like Matthew Knies. Let's talk about him. And I'm not just talking about the last 2 games, right? We talked about this early in the year. He almost went from a boy last year to a man this year, and he's using that big frame, and he's getting in the way, and he's causing havoc, and he's got hands for a big man, like real good hands for a big man. You know who he honestly is reminding me of right now? A young Brendan Shanahan, heavy on pucks, real good hands, right? Good down low on the cycle. The only thing, but it's a different game, right? Shanny would fight every second or third game. You know, Knies hopefully doesn't have to do that, but lock this kid up. Like let's go. Lock this kid up now. Get 16 under a contract if you can. We talked about this. We won't go heavy into that right now. But if you could get those 2 guys, and then JT, I totally agree with you. You know, if you can get him at the right number for a couple more years, I mean,
Got to be the right number, though.
He's scoring at a better pace than he did as an Islander when he's a Maple Leaf. In the second half of his career, he's scoring more in PPG. So, you know, and the goaltending's been great. Tanev again. I saw an interesting trade rumor. You know, you got this whole Miller and Petey in Vancouver, and you know, one of them's got to go. But you know, and one was JT Miller for Morgan Riley. And I was like, yeah, we do that, 100%, right? JT Miller can play hockey. Is he a problem in the room? From what I heard, it goes back to when Miller was there and Petey came in. Kid, right? From Sweden, he's a kid. And Miller was really hard on him. And you always have a couple of veterans in a room that are pretty heavy on the rookies. And if you miss a check, or you know, they're giving it to them, you know, probably worse than the coaches do. And
Boy,
that
if somebody did that to Nylander, he would have broken down and cried back in the day.
Yeah, or he would have said, you know what, you guys bitch about everything, you know, shut the F up. You know, so but and they've not been able to figure it out, right? It's that bad. Like, I think Peterson hates him to a point, and probably vice versa. So one of them's moving. You know, well, that's going to be interesting to see. But I mean, I like what Toronto has right now. I'll even give a little bit of credit to Nick Robertson. When I watch Nick Robertson shifts, I don't watch it when they have the puck. I know he's good when they
bumped off the puck. Is he in the right spot?
Yes. I'm watching where he is. Is he a support guy? Is he helping? Is he in the right spots to, you know, not only worry about a good hockey player, NHL hockey player, in my opinion, should know what their responsibility is in all 3 zones, and also know what their secondary and third responsibilities are, and that's to support, you know, if the puck shifts or whatever. I'm noticing that with him of late, and you got to give credit to Berube because I've never seen it any other time in his career. He was just lost out there without the puck. So, good on, they're getting depth scoring. McMahon's been great.
One thing, Johnny, that I thought, just touching back on Matthew Nyes, and again, in giving,
it's going to be a big number.
But listen, let's put that aside for now. The point I was going to make is about Craig Berube. You'll remember it was just before Christmas. Berube came out and said to him, like, you're a better player than what you're showing. And he challenged him. And I thought, with what you've seen since that moment, this to me is what the Maple Leafs have missed behind the bench. You had a guy who recognized what a player could be and where he was. He found a way to motivate him, called him out, did it publicly, made sure he knew what was going on. And then I'm sure behind closed doors, there was an arm around the kid saying, hey, I'm doing this because blah, 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 blah. And you know what? Matthew Nyes has responded in the exact way you'd want him to respond. And so, again, I give all the props here to Craig Berube, right? Has he done some good work with Nick Robertson? Absolutely. Listen, if you look at here's an uncomfortable thing that I think nobody wants to talk about Nick Robertson, but I think needs to be addressed. What the hell's wrong with Max Domi? Nick Robertson has twice as many goals as Max Domi does, playing half the minutes. And listen, we did this with Max Domi last year, if you recall. Max Domi didn't show up for the first half of the season last year, and then showed up for the back half and parlayed it into a $15 or $18 million contract. My biggest concern when we signed that contract with Max Domi was Max Domi was going to do what he did the last time he got paid and not show up again. And here we are.
We talked about this on a previous show, if you want to look back.
But that's what I'm saying. We are.
Winning. Hey, the team's winning. Okay?
That has nothing to do with.
You're not going to have 22 players going all the time.
Only 33 games played, 3 goals, 11 assists, 14 points, 32 penalty minutes.
What's his plus minus?
+2.
And the team's winning, and he's playing tough lines.
I'm okay with it. He's a $4 million. He's a $4 million cap hit on a team that's maxed out and doesn't have any money. That's not good enough for what we're paying him. Sorry, man, it's not. So
you're paying Max Domi to be a point producer? Is that his role?
That's part of his role. Yes, absolutely, it is.
Anyway. Let's move on. We debated the same thing. We had the exact same conversation.
I
don't look at the stat sheet and say that guy didn't work what he did. Watch the hockey games.
Nothing's changed.
Look at the results at the end of the hockey games. And when a team's 13 games over 500, missed their best player for half the year, have a goalie that's leading the league in save percentage that's out for the last 10 games, and the team's winning, we're not going to jump in and dissect who, like, that makes no sense. They're winning, right? They're winning. And it doesn't matter.
So
22 guys. Max is part of that. And if he scores no goals,
he's a passenger, though. He's winning. A passenger. Do you want Max Domi to be a passenger, or do you want him to be a producer?
I want to win hockey games.
That's not what I asked you, though. You're winning hockey games regardless. Do you want Max Domi to be a passenger, or do you want him to be a producer?
I don't care. If I'm winning hockey games,
I care. I want Max Domi to be a producer.
We have enough producers every night. Everybody's going to be a passenger at times, right? We're winning.
33 games, John. 33 games.
Yeah. What? They what?
33 games, 3 goals.
Okay.
That's not a passenger sometimes. That's a passenger the entire season. Give that kid a TTC pass.
You might have a legitimate gripe if the team's 10 games under 500, but they're not.
10 games under 500. That's when you're – okay, well, fair enough. We see that very differently.
Wow, it's because I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, clearly.
Absolutely. I want to win hockey games. I don't care who has 5 goals, 8 goals, 30. Doesn't matter. I want to win hockey games.
Apparently, it doesn't matter.
Max Domi doesn't score another goal, but plays a regular shift, and he's a plus player, and the Toronto Maple Leafs win the Stanley Cup.
Okay.
Do you still want to trade him because he doesn't have the 20 goals that you expect of him? It's a team game, right?
It's great when it's a team. It's great when it's a team game, but one of those team players aren't held accountable. I think that's great.
Okay, quickly before we move on here, I just want to get one player that's impressed you, one player that's let you guys down up to this point in the season.
Can I just say that guy over on the other side of the screen let me down? Can I?
Yeah. So listen, I'll go with guy that I've loved all kinds. I'll just go back to our good friend Bobby McMatthews. I really like what I've seen from him. Guy that I've been disappointed in. I mean, I don't know how I don't pick Domi for the reasons that have been previously said. Johnny Five, who do you got?
I think honestly, I mean, the guy that's impressed me the most, I mentioned it. There's 4 or 5 of them. I think.
What about 16? 16 could be there.
Marner's in the top 5 in the NHL in scoring without Matthews for 10 games. And he's, there was a lot of noise and he is he playing for a contract? Kind of, but Mitch Marner was going to get a contract. If Mitch Marner scored 60 points or 130 points this year, Mitch Marner was getting his 14 large, right? That's coming. Doesn't matter. He stepped up. He's saying he's been better behind the microphone than I've ever seen him in his whole career.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. So, he's been – but Willie Nylander is outstanding. I mean, 10 of you mentioned has been fantastic. Both told, right? Disappointing. I still think Ryan Reeves. I think there's some there's things that Ryan Reeves could have done to maybe bring the group a little closer. And you guys know what I mean. Whether it's the presence thing, but he's not playing well enough hockey to stay in the lineup, and that hurts them from a toughness point, right? Jake McCabe probably doesn't get his head caved in the other night if Ryan Reeves is in the lineup.
Hey,
and
listen.
Ryan's not in the lineup because Ryan didn't deserve to be in the lineup.
But can we give a shout out to Jake McCabe for answering the bell though and doing the right thing?
Yeah, I did the right thing. I don't even know how he got hurt so bad. Somebody said it was a knee. I heard that the guy kneed him coming in.
I thought he kind of came down on him with his elbow when he landed, but it did. Like, I'll be honest, it didn't look bad. It just looked like they went down. But then when he got up and you could see his eyes kind of rolling around, I was like, ugh.
Yeah, he was woozy, but he looked better before he went off the ice. I don't expect him to be out that long.
Well, he's on injured reserve now, isn't he?
Yeah, but that's minimum a week, is it?
Precautionary kind of, I think.
Yeah, so he'll have 7 days, and that's okay. That's okay. Let's look, next guy up kind of mentality. All these young defensemen, journeyman type, the Benoits and the they're playing great. They're doing this night in and night out.
Shout out to Philippe Myers.
Yeah, that's another one.
Who looks like he belongs.
Yeah.
2-year extension.
Yeah, and
that helps. That helps when you have structure, right? When you have that way you play, it's been great. But I want Ryan Reeves to kind of, I think he's important. I don't think he's going to be in the lineup in the playoffs, but leading into the playoffs, I think he can give some of these younger guys a little bit of make them a little bit bigger. I'd like to see him, answer. I hope he's in the lineup tomorrow in Philly, and I'd like to.
He has to be.
Yeah, I think that has to be a message. Craig Berube played for Philly, right? Craig Berube's gonna know how we're gonna get fired up in Philly, on a Tuesday night or whatever it is, and so he'd be my disappointment. But I could, the 8 or 10 guys honestly have done a fantastic job. They're playing the right way.
It's way more positive than negative. For 100% it is, right? Like,
yep. Top of the Atlantic, halfway through the season, not too bad.
And how much fun is it to watch Boston struggle? Just fun. Like, I find it just fun.
Yeah, finally beating them in the regular season for a couple of years, and
you kind of went into that game the other night. It's almost a mindset thing that you get as a fan or a follower of the team. And it's like I was kind of excited. And normally you go into a Boston game, it doesn't matter whether it's in the playoffs or in the preseason, whatever. And it's like, okay, here we go. You know, they're going to play well for 50 minutes, and then
it's going to happen. Eventually, at some point, it's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And they just, I mean, you know, I don't think the game, honestly, was as close as the score was. I thought Toronto really had a strong presence. It was fun to watch. And you just, you know, you want to get through the next couple of months and you want to stay healthy. You really got to look at the depth stuff that you're going to need, and, you know, trees looking and this and that. I'll lead into the next one, Nolan, unless you had something else, but Austin, right? So,
yep.
You know, we'll talk about him for a bit. And I know, John, you're you know, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago where you're like, you know, I wish they'd tell us what it is. And, you know, I defend and say, well, then guys will target it, blah, 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 blah. It is getting goofy now. And so it's I've got it down to two things. And I've heard from, you know, somewhat reliable sources, I've heard back, broken ribs, and a high groin issue. I've heard all three of those things. Now, the question that Austin got asked the other night, that kind of put my spidey senses up because, you know, do you think that – so when he came back and says he hopes so, a back injury, that leads me maybe there or the groin thing. Broken ribs, you know that you're going to come back from them because they heal. If you let them heal, they'll heal. Back is a pretty intense and intricate set of muscles and whatnot, spine stuff like that. You know, you can recover for years. High groin or, you know, high, lower abdomen kind of muscles, same thing. You don't know, right? That's, you know, so the fact that he just showed up and played the other night and played as well as he did, I didn't see.
Looked great.
I watched his skating. That's an indicator of you know, a physical problem. A lot of guys, if they have a back or a disc or even a groin, you'll notice that they skate different, right? They're almost they have a little bit more of a wider foot base. They don't kind of flow, but he looked great. He was as physical as I've ever seen him, like throwing his body around, getting in the way.
I almost thought he was like, I was worried because I saw that too, Johnny. He was flying around, smashing guys. And I kind of thought, like, don't do something stupid now. Try to prove that you're okay.
Yeah. And then there's a big debate. And we have to talk about this. We've got the Four Nations Cup coming up in, you know, less than a month. So, you know, it's obviously you've got a whole bunch of stakeholders here. You got Austin Matthews and his family. That, you know, that's the player. You've got USA Hockey, that pretty powerful entity in the game. You know, with Canada Hockey, and then you've got the Toronto Maple Leafs who employ Austin, right? I've been on the fence about a week ago, and this is before he came back, obviously. I was like, unless he comes back in the next 3 or 4 games and plays 8 games, 9 games before the break, and you see no issue, no, I'd shut him down now. I'd say, no, he's not going. He's here to win a cup. Now, watching him come back the other night and play the way he did, and I'll continue to watch closely just the things that I look at, you know, from a skating structural point of view. And if it continues like that, it's not a bad thing to have as many of your players as possible play that level of hockey and that intensity of hockey. And Austin Matthews is going to play for the United States, and the United States are going to be real good, right? So, you know, I look at it and say, hey, you know what? If I don't see any sign, if he misses 2 of the next 5 games, like if he plays 2 and then he's off for 2, then I'm going to shut him down and say, no, if he needs rest and recovery, then that's what he needs. But I don't have a problem with him going play in this tournament. If you know, it's not something, they're not going to let him go if he has a risk of hurting whatever it is that's bothering him anymore. They won't. None of them will let him go.
Okay, right? So here's my thing. Listen, if it's I honest in my heart of hearts, it can't be ribs. It just can't be.
Oh, I agree.
You're not making an intercontinental flight in the middle of the season under dark cover because you got broken ribs. So let's throw that out of the equation. If it's a back thing, that's scary. If it's a groin thing, I mean, it's not goaltender terrible, but it's not good. Again, is it the wrist? Is it something that's like, listen, here's the other thing too. And I didn't notice this, but the bride noticed this. When he came back, she said, it looks like he's not well. Like he's lost some weight in his face. And I don't know, maybe he's been really sick. Maybe there is something going on external to what the common thought process is on him. I don't know. Here's what I know. I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. I'm not a USA hockey fan. I want Austin Matthews healthy and playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's the highest paid player in the NHL. The Toronto Maple Leafs are not going to allow a player that they have made the number one guy, if he's not 1,000,000,000% to play in that tournament. I might listen. No one loves the Savior as much as I do. I know how important it is for these elite players. I'm not talking like the Seth Jarvis of the world who, yeah, it's really cool that you get to play. When you're Sidney Crosby, when you're Austin Matthews, when you're Cale Makar, you crave that. That's part of who you are as a player, to go against the best and be able to show that not only do you have it, you're above them. I get it. I'm with that. I don't care. I'm a Maple Leafs fan. I want Austin Matthews healthy for the run. I do not think under any circumstances we allow him to play. I understand all the reasons why you want him there. I do. Believe me, I get it. It's the same reason why, as a Bills fan, when we're up 25 points in the third quarter, I don't want Josh Allen on the field. I don't care. I don't care that he's going to throw for 2 more touchdowns. It's going to help him in an MVP race. Get him off the field. I don't want him injured. It's not.
If he's not 100%, I agree with you. Okay, but if you think that anybody, and that's why I said these stakeholders, if you know who's making the decision, don't you?
It's Austin Matthews.
Yes.
Yeah, 100% it is. 100% it is.
Say nothing. If Austin Matthews and his representation calls Brendan Shanahan and say, you know what? Well, we made a call. He's going. Brendan Shanahan says, wish you guys all the best. That's it.
Have a good tournament.
Yeah. So that's who's driving the bus here. We can say what we want about USA Hockey, giving them pressure. No. Austin Matthews is going to make the decision.
Every day of the week.
He'll make the right one. Austin and his representatives have always been forthcoming with, wanting do what's best for the team. And I think now that he's the captain, that'll help with that. So if Austin Matthews thinks that it would be a detriment to the rest of his season to play in the Four Nation Cup, he won't play. Right. But don't kid yourself into thinking that the Toronto Maple Leafs or USA Hockey, it's an Austin Matthews and his family and his agent Judd Moldaver that are going to make these decisions.
No, what do you think?
I'm fine either way, honestly. I really am. I'd love to see him play. I want Canada to play the best. Austin Matthews is the best goal scorer in the world, right? And playing that level of hockey, I think everybody that goes back to their respective teams are going to have an extra little bit of jump. They're gonna have way less time and space than they have at the National Hockey League level, even, and it's going to make them better players, right? So if there's no risk, there's always risk, right? You could hurt something else in the Four Nation Cup, but if you're a hockey player, you're a hockey player, and you want to play. I'm not going to sit around and make sure I don't get hurt so I'm ready for the playoffs, right? If I'm fit to play, I'm going to play. And that's inbred in these guys that's what they want to do, right? They want to play hockey. Especially since we haven't had any best on best in so long. A lot of these guys that are coming in now haven't played this, right? I say that best on best term very loosely because this isn't the best on best.
I agree.
There's no Russia. Look at all the players from the Czech Republic and, Switzerland and Denmark.
Germany.
Really high-end players like Leon Draisaitl that's not in it. So the Olympics will be a different story next year. But, I just don't.
So we agree, though. Like, I think that's an important distinction because I'll be honest with you. I've had a tough time with this Four Nations thing in feeling the same way about it. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm pumped up to see everybody and play, and it's going to be cool. But am I really fired up that Seth Jarvis is on the team? Like, I have a tough time. I'm looking at some of the players that are there, and I'm going, yeah, like okay, fine. And no Russia, no Czechs, no Germans, no Swiss. I don't know. I feel like it could have been a lot more, but I understand it's condensed time frame. We're doing it over the All-Star break, all that kind of stuff. I get it. But I think we all need to take a deep breath. If you're fired up about Canada losing the juniors, if we lose this, don't be fired up. Like,
you're the one that's fired. I'm not fired up. But you're the one that was going on and on. We got to have a summit.
Did I say we had to have a summit? I didn't say we had to have a summit. I said we need to make changes to the way Hockey Canada, as a management team, selects the team and prepares them. I didn't blame the kids. I didn't say we need a summit. I didn't say our kids aren't good enough. I said management did not prepare the team. That's what I said very acutely.
Yeah, so just quickly before we wrap up here. So Yanni Hakanpää was named to Team Finland. Do you think he'll end up playing in the tournament? Well, he's only played 2 games this season for the Leafs. If he ends up playing for Team Finland, that'll just be insane, I think.
I don't think he'll ever play again.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a video of him practicing the other day, but I don't know.
Listen, you know what he is to me? He's Matt Murray. Listen, I hope for his sake, listen, it'd be a great human nature or human interest story. I hope for his sake he's able to rally and come back. And listen, if he can come back and play 45 or 50 games in the NHL next year, you know what? Good on Yanni Hakanpää. Don't get me wrong. But do I expect it? No. Am I confident that it's going to take place? Not so much. Am I sad that a young guy who was a very decent NHL hockey player is having his time cut down? Absolutely. But that does not look very positive for that young man.
Yeah, I don't know that much about it. I mean, I didn't think it was a bad move to, let's see, right? Like, if
no harm, no foul.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, again, that's been the nice part of this team this year is they just seem to kind of, a little bit of adversity. Oh, well, okay, let's just move on. Yeah, we might lose a game here and there that we should have won, but we're going to win 3 or 4, right? We're going to figure it out. We're going to protect leads, and we're not going to, So it's been nice that way. Now you tinker a little bit and you figure out, what the pairings and look for holes, right? For holes, you got to figure out. I always would go in if you're looking at a trade deadline or something and you're managing the team. I would visualize every single regular on your roster out for the season. Okay. So if Mitch Marner, gets a season-ending injury, done. What does my lineup look like? Okay. Then I look at that lineup and I say, okay, where's my hole? Where, how can a opposing coach beat this hockey club? Is there an obvious weakness? Whether it's top 6, top 9, middle 6, whatever, bottom, And then I would literally do that exercise with every player on the team and go down and say, okay, because it's not just a matter of filling somebody into the hole that plays maybe somewhat similar to the guy that went down. It's how that affects and it's
everything else.
Right. right? So I looked at, I've always coached in a kind of a different way. I like the Russian mindset of the five-man units, right? So I would always, when in minor hockey for sure, you don't have that luxury of having the fourth line, right? So you got 9 forwards and you got 6 defense. And I would look at, everybody worries about, their chemistry on their forward line and their chemistry on their back, right? Between those guys. The left defenseman needs chemistry with the left winger more so than he needs with his D partner. That's been my philosophy as a coach for 40 years. The right winger has to be compatible with the right defense. That's who's giving them the puck.
That's where you're moving the puck to. That's a great point,
right?
John. That's a great point.
So if you look at, one of your right shot defensemen goes down, who's going to fit in there and then be compatible with the guys on the right side? And, there's all kinds. Some guys pass the puck harder. Some guys pass the puck softer, but it's a little saucy and, dirtier and that kind of stuff, right? So I always would look at, and I would drill down the whole team. What's going to happen if this guy goes down, right? And that's what, Treliving's a great general manager and has built some good teams and made some really good moves. I'm sure he's doing exactly that, and his team. And yeah, make a couple of depth moves. I don't mind giving up some draft picks with the group that we have and the way they're playing. If this continues, if you've got I'm not gonna say the word Easton Cowan because everybody else thinks they should trade him now because he sucks.
Can we throw a timeout? Can we throw a timeout on the Easton Cowan had 3 points in 5 games, so the world is ending. Guys,
he led the team.
He led the team, but B, before, if you've never listened to us before, or let's say you don't pay attention to the OHL ever, do yourself a favor. If you're in the GTA, make a drive out to London. It's not that far. Watch a London Knights game and tell me that you're not fired up about watching Easton Cowan play. I've seen him play 4 or 5 times. Listen, you don't accidentally break Doug Gilmour's OHL record for most points in a consecutive game. That's not an accident, okay? Stuff like that doesn't, happen because the guy's just kind of okay and can't figure it out. He's going to be just fine, okay? So if you tune into junior hockey once a year on TSN and you see Easton Cowan and you're like, well, I'm not sure. Trust me, everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about it.
And my point was, I'm not jumping on a bandwagon. My point was, if to get the right package at the playoffs this year, you had to trade an Easton Cowan or Fraser Minton or one of these young guys coming up, the defense Niemela or whatever his name is.
Toppy Niemela, yep.
We're close. Real close. Close.
It's hard not to argue it.
Yeah.
It would have to be something great. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah. It's got
to be something
check a lot of boxes, and it's got to see. That's with what I just told
you, got to give something to get something.
Visualize. You almost want to bring in the Swiss Army knife, right? You want to bring in somebody that can bang in the bottom 6, can chip in offensively. Big body, has some playoff experience. If you can check 5 or 6 boxes off with a player, I'd overpay, and I do it now. Because you're going to pay more in the end of February, get into March and the trade deadline. I do it now. I'd figure. You've got enough of a sample size, and figure out who's out there and start to look at it now.
Okay, so here's one question that I want to ask from a trade perspective, and I just know this because I've got a lot of people that I know watch us that are big Rangers fans. The New York Rangers are in a crisis right now, right? An absolute crisis right now. Chris Kreider, maybe? Or what about, listen, full well Jacob Trouba does not want to be in Anaheim. What does it cost to get? What does it cost to get Jacob Trouba? And how good would Jacob?
Not as much as you think. Not as much
Canada,
as you
though.
think.
That's why he left Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I mean, he's going to help. Jacob Trouba can help you. Chris Kreider can help you. I've heard a couple of. I hear things and then I kind of okay, and then I see the same thing on the internet and stuff. But I heard a couple from again people that I talk to. I've heard that it's not far fetched that Pat Kane and
Taves. I knew you were going to say Taves.
Yeah, and I've heard this from a couple of people that are.
I've heard this too.
Not on the inside with the Leafs, but on the inside with the Taves and the Kane camps, right?
Yep.
That both of them have said absolutely. Both of them would take a lesser role. Both of them would, so stay tuned to that, right? If you can get those two guys, you give up.
Listen, half of Jonathan Taves is better than 50% of the league.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's be honest.
Oh, I think Jonathan Taves, he had some health issues. He's really spent some time going to Buddhist colonies in India and sort of mental healing and meditating and learning stuff like that. Jonathan Taves is a dog, right? People in the basketball players, they'll call a guy, he's a dog, he's a ball or whatever. Jonathan Taves is a hockey player. Yeah. He's a hockey player's hockey player. And if you could somehow have that guy in, yeah. So I've heard those two. Another guy that I would look at very seriously, and funny you mentioned the Rangers, and I've liked his game his whole career, and I think he would fit in really well with this group, is Mika Zibanejad. If they're going to
doesn't like Mika Zibanejad?
If they're going to move on from him, I would be making a couple of calls right away to Chris Drury and say, hey, what do you want?
Nolan, what's his ticket though?
$8.5 million. He's got 6 years left.
Yeah,
that's
a bargain, man. The cap's going to go up. He's a much more valuable player than when.
How many more years does he have?
6.
Some he's got quite some term, but he's not having a good year at all.
Nobody is there. It's a train
points and
dumpster fire. They all hate each other. Drury, Sean Avery's meeting with friggin' Dolan to talk about the state. There was a rumor going around that Avery was going to be the GM.
And so Ben had 39 games, 8 goals, 16 assists, 24 points, minus 19. And from what I've heard, he's been terrible defensively, everything.
Listen, Igor Shesterkin is arguably the best goaltender in the league. Okay? He's arguably the best goaltender in the league. I don't care that the Rangers are terrible. Igor Shesterkin has not forgotten how to play goal. The team in front of him is quitting on the coach. They're quitting on the GM. Okay? It's got there is so much talent on that team. They just don't give a fidoo right now.
Yeah. And that's what you got to figure it out. You got to figure out who's driving that bus.
100%.
Stay away from them. If it's Kreider, Drury thought it was Trouba. He's gone and they got worse. Right. So,
but here's the thing, though, to be very fair, to I'm trying to be fair to Drury and the Rangers here. You don't take a player that is the caliber of, and listen, I understand Jacob Trouba is not what he was 4 years ago. I get all of that. Don't get me wrong. But you don't take Jacob Trouba out of your lineup, replace him with me, and expect everything to be the same. Okay? There's a massive drop-off between what they took out of the lineup and what they replaced them with. So to be very fair, it may not be that Jacob Trouba was not the problem. It could just be that, what they've replaced Jacob Trouba's skill set with isn't on par with Jacob Trouba's skill set.
Yeah, they're going to clean the house.
They have to. Speaking, okay, so last thing before we go, and this has been something that's burned my craw for a while now. After seeing the way Hildeby is played, can we finally put a rest to Matt Murray? Can we finally do it? Can we just stop with Matt Murray?
Why though? I think they're going to need 4 before this season's out. I think they could very well get to Murray. So at this point, that would make no sense to turn around and go, hey, you know what, Murray, you're out of our plans. No. You keep everybody available that you can. And then, yeah, of course, when it comes down to it, if Hildeby's the guy, then he's going to be the third guy traveling with the team in the playoffs, and Murray's not. Right?
Do you not? So
I don't make that decision now.
Okay, so hold on. So hear me out though. If you were coaching right now, okay?
Yeah.
You've got a veteran like Matt Murray, right? Who's been in the league for years, right?
Yeah.
Do you not play him at the AHL level? Have him show some success at that level. If let's say Hildeby does what he did the other night, and I'm not going to say he's going to have a 940 save percentage every night, but let's say he stays in that 915 range, right? And he keeps you in those games. I would have a tough time moving off the future for the guy that might be. I don't know.
I've said this to you guys for years, okay? When a team plays the right way, the goaltender that's between the pipes is not as important, let's put it that way in a polite way, as when you don't play the right way. So to me, right, some of the success of Joe Wall and Stolars and Hildeby and even Murray's won a game or two here.
I wouldn't call
is
it
the way the team plays, right? You could look, shot clock totals and all that BS. No. Watch the game. Where are the shots coming from, right? Is there traffic in front of the net? Is there third and four opportunities? Or are the defensemen and with the forwards down low supporting, getting the pucks out in a timely manner, right? The answer to that question is yes, right? They're much better in their own end. And that's going to make a goaltender. So if you have, and I agree with you, Murray's Murray, but he's also an NHL goalie and he's won a couple cups and he gets hurt. Yeah, for sure. But right now, yeah, he's my fourth option. But I'm looking at every possible stumble that you could have along the way. And you want Murray. But I agree, he should be playing some games in America. They all should. Right?
Okay. No, that's a fair point. No, I'm okay with that. We're on the same page. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page. I'm okay with that. I agree.
Right. Yeah, next guy up again, but you have a pecking order. And at the end of the day, like I said, if the team plays the right way, this is a type of team. Jordan Binnington's playing for Jordan Binnington's going to play this year for the Four Nations Cup and quite possibly in the Olympics. When Jordan Binnington came into the league, who was the coach of the St. Louis Blues?
Craig Berube.
Right? And then he wins a cup in his rookie year, big story, right? Jordan is an NHL goalie, absolutely.
Listen,
I don't like his temperament. I don't like his antics and chasing guys and stuff like that. Like, he wouldn't have behaved like that back when I was playing the game, or somebody would just throw the puck at the net and run him through the end boards, right? And he wouldn't yap anymore. That's the difference. But Greg Berube's system made Jordan Binnington, he's playing for Team Canada.
But listen, here's what I will tell you. My best friend is the world's biggest St. Louis Blues fan. So by virtue of that, I watch a lot of Blues hockey. And listen, I can tell you this very accurately. Jordan Binnington is having a hell of a season.
Yeah.
There is not very much in front of Jordan Binnington. Yeah. And the saves that if you don't watch a lot of Blues hockey, but you're interested in Team Canada and you want to kind of see what we're getting into for the Four Nations, watch some Blues hockey. And I'm telling you, Jordan Binnington, if there was the only guy that might have been in my mind, and he never even made the team, was Thompson in Washington. He might have been the only guy that I thought was even in the wheel.
Well, I got Thompson in for Montembeau.
Well, no, but I'm saying, in my mind, you could have made an argument for Thompson being the starting goalie ahead of Binnington. I could have been there with that. But the point I'm making is, if you're not watching St. Louis hockey, pay attention to Jordan Binnington. Jordan Binnington, listen, I understand he had that run when they won the cup and he was great. And then there's running around and sticking people in mouth, and I get all that. Jordan Binnington is a very, very good NHL goaltender, right?
And
So
Montembeau, or whatever his name is in Montreal, isn't even Montreal's best goalie. And he's on this team. That's Luke Dobus or whatever.
Yet again, I will say Hockey Canada has problems.
Well, we talked about why.
Just saying.
There because
I know we did. I understand the francophone. I understand it. I get it all. I'm just saying Hockey Canada's got problems.
Yeah. So I think that'll do it for this episode. We'll continue this on.
What about predictions? We don't do that anymore on the new year.
Come on, Nolan. What are we doing here, buddy?
Let me pull up the schedule here. Okay.
We got the Flyers tomorrow.
Yep.
I think it's I think they're doing a Heritage Night too coming up this week, aren't they? With the Indigenous Heritage Month, MLSE. Shout out to MLSE for doing that, and that's the right thing to do.
So we got the Flyers on Tuesday, Carolina Thursday, and Vancouver Saturday.
Tough week.
Okay. So
They all home?
No,
Flyers are on the road for sure.
Flyers and Canes are on the road. Country home.
Okay, so I'm going to take 4 out of 6. I like going back to Philly. I think Reeves is going to be in the lineup, and I think he's going to have his first fight of the season. I certainly hope he's going to have his first fight of the season. But I think Wall comes back in the lineup. I think Wall plays all 3 games probably, to be quite honest. I don't see a bad thing here in getting Joey some run time and getting him feeling good about himself. I think he feels great about himself, to be honest, right now. Carolina, listen, my nephew's a huge Sebastian Aho fan and just loves the Hurricanes.
Which one, the Islander or the Carolina?
Definitely the Hurricane. But listen, so by virtue of that, I watch a lot of Hurricanes hockey too, and it's listen, I'm just telling you, if you're not paying attention to Sebastian Aho, watch this guy, man. This guy is all world, fantastic hockey player. Love the way he plays the game. He plays it the right way. He's in the right spot at all the right times, does all the right things. For that reason, I'm going to take Carolina over us, and without Hughes in Vancouver, and with the goaltending, who knows what the heck's going on with their goalies and Pettersson and Miller, and it's like the young and the restless. I think we take the Van City All-Stars on Saturday.
Yeah, I'll just go 3 points. Let's say we beat the Flyers tomorrow night, and then drop one in overtime, then just lose one.
I'm going to go 6 because, I agree. I think they're going to go in and smash Philly.
7-game win streak.
I think the Carolina.
It's a real test.
Carolina, Toronto have had a little bit of a rivalry because they've been both consistently good for 6 or 7 years now. Regular season good, winning a lot of games, right? And I think it's a really good bet. They don't seem to play each other as much as even the Islanders and some of these other teams, or it's spread. I don't know, but I always find when those 2 teams meet, and more often than not, of late, Carolina's come out ahead. Right?
Johnny, back to 2003 in the playoffs with Sammy Kapanen versus Sundin, and
I truly believe this is, Toronto's going to circle this one. This is, they're real good. They play the right way. Rod Brindamore runs a real good defensive, structured team, and I think it's a really good benchmark for them to go in. I think Toronto's going to get fired up, and I think with what's going on in Vancouver, I predict that either JT Miller or Elias Pettersson will not be with the Vancouver Canucks come Saturday. So you're going to be dealing with a new, I don't know how long Quinn's out, but he drives. He's back?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, is he back tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean,
I'm going to go 6, though, right? Yeah.
They're rolling right now, but Poppy's back. He's energized. It seems. I mean, the other guys are getting 5 points a game, and I think it's going to be a good week, a real good week.
And so Yeah. So last thing, I guess, before we get out of here, shout out to Don Cherry Sports Grill, Bjorn Hockey. Thank you for the support, everybody. Check them both out. And Nolan, do you want to anything else we got going on there?
Yeah, not too much. It's those 3 games this week, and then should be back next Tuesday. They take on the Dallas Stars, so another good test. And yeah, that's all I got.
All right, Kara just came downstairs, and she just I tried to get her to come on, but she's let her live. Apparently, is what she's let her live.
Anyway, yeah, have a good week, guys, and
let's go.
See you next week.
Yep.
Let her live.